BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
An exceptional Friday to you as we welcome you into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia, and we're glad you're with us. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. If you're mobile and listening on the iHeartRadio, the TuneIn app, and, of course, the free-to-download Odyssey app, or even on our YouTube channel or on Twitch, we're streaming live at the Fan Rochester. We have an amazing weekend of sports in front of us. Let's get there.
Yeah, and we're going to have news on the show here today regarding the Bills because when was the last time? I think it was that Saturday night against the Chargers. Last time we had a Saturday game. So by 4 o'clock today, we're going to learn who the Bills will elevate from the practice squad. They don't have to, Danger, but it'd be wise to bring up two guys here. And will we see Frank Gore? Will we see Andre Jones? Who will be that extra player or two that the Bills will bring up? Again, 4 o'clock for the deadline today. We'll give our picks. We've got great guests. And we got your calls at 866-4FN, 866-4326.
So next hour, we talk Buffalo Bills with the host of the Bill Maddock podcast, our buddy D.A., Damon Amendolara, will stop by the sports bar. He also recently had one of our favorites here in the sports bar, Maggie Gray, on his show. And Maggie was talking about, she got a little sappy talking to D.A. about how Josh Allen was going on his touchdown winning drive, the game-winning drive on Sunday, and as he was scoring, it started to snow outside of her window, and she felt like there was some kind of karma thing happening there. And we'll talk to D.A. and get his thoughts from last week's win, look ahead here to Denver, which universally it feels like everybody is saying a better matchup for the Buffalo Bills than the Jacksonville Jaguars. So much so that I know it's made Gene Battaglia uncomfortable.
Well, speaking of karma, right? And I love people direct messaging me during the game. If you know my cell phone number, okay, you're gonna. I just want to give you the heads up, Danger. My phone will be off tomorrow.
What?
I can't watch the game. I
You're
can't watch
doing
the
RIT.
So this is great for the school, and I wish we were picked up on MSG or somebody here locally, but we'll be on Pittsburgh Sportsnet tomorrow for the women at 3 and then the men at 7, so it's a double header. And I can't be distracted. Now, this reminds me of the last time this happened. I am in school, and it was the last time the Buffalo Bills won in the divisional round on the road. I'm calling Fordham Holy Cross, and the Buffalo Bills score a 21-3 win in Pittsburgh the week after the comeback game. Everybody thinks of the comeback game. What happens next? Well, they have to go on the road again. And everybody's saying, oh, this is a letdown. Pittsburgh is rested. Look at this team. And all right, well, the Bills went into Pittsburgh, won that game, and and this is way before the technology we have today, and I found out, oh, my gosh, the Bills won. And then they end up winning in Miami the following week. So I'm hoping for that good karma. This is all we do, like, as sports people, sports fans. Like, we look for signs. We look for things.
Mm-hmm. No superstition.
Here's my concern. Who in our area is saying this is where the road ends for Buffalo? Who's saying that?
Nobody. I've yet to hear the person say that Denver is going to beat the Bills, that Denver is going to somehow surprise. And it's not like Denver is an underdog here. This is, I mean, it's essentially a pick 'em. Some books have it at -1 Denver. Some have Bills -1. I mean, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing if the number 1 seed beat the 6 seed. It just wouldn't.
Yeah, and more money came in on Denver today. So BetQL, who does the aggregate, has Buffalo getting a 1.5. So it's a 2.5-point swing since this opened. And the reason for that, I would think, primarily is, well, if you're just basing it off of history, and again, Mike Danger, snarky comment coming in, incoming. since we went to this format, the number one team that has the bye, the number one seed in the divisional round, wins outright 69% of the time. Thank you.
I didn't say anything.
Well, are you going to side with the team 69% or 31%? It's Sean Payton.
Ooh, Sean Payton. He's such a big talker. Ooh. You know what Sean Payton's record is his last 5 playoff games?
I'm going to guess you're going to tell me something.
I'll tell you. He's 1-4 his last 5 playoff games. And I know that one win because it was against the terrible 8-8 Chicago Bears during the COVID season of 2020.
I'm pretty good about remembering games. I don't remember a darn thing about that game.
Yeah, I want to
Was
say
that Trubisky?
I want to say
sl-
Trubisky was the MVP.
That's it.
The
yeah.
Nickelodeon valuable player in a losing
Big
effort.
effort.
Yeah. That was the big win for the. It was a joke. It was comically bad, and that was Peyton's one win in his last 5 playoff games.
I thought you were going to say the Super Bowl or whatever led up to the loss to the Rams, I guess.
Yeah. Well, think about how he's always kind of constructed his teams defensively. I mean, the pass rush is a big deal, but his guys have always been undersized. I mean, let's not forget it was the Sean Payton Saints that birthed Beastquake, or, Beast Mode became Beastquake, right?
Yeah.
The run, the Marshawn Lynch, where he's just throwing guys around. I mean, I think if the Bills' offense and the offensive line wants to play a physical brand, that they can throw these guys around a little bit. I don't know that it's going to be a big James Cook game. It feels like it should be a big James Cook game. This Denver defense is not much worse than Jacksonville. They gave up the second fewest yards on the ground this season. Only the Jags had a better rush defense than the Broncos. But tight ends, they're vulnerable against the tight end. You can get after it. Allen can get after it with Kincaid and Knox. You have a good 1-2 tandem. Hell, Hawes might even get involved. And if the run game doesn't get going, you can always do what you did last week, which is use Khalil Shakir as an extension of the run game with the dink and dunk and underneath passes.
Yeah, and there were a few shots downfield, and of course the most memorable being the game-winning drive. The way I have this game playing out, Danger, and I've laid out the reasons, and again, things that scare me about Denver, it's the unknown. I don't know if R.J. Harvey on the outside, we see that he can catch the ball, but in this role is, on this stage, same thing with Bo Nix. Wasn't great last year, but heck, he was a rookie last year. That was his first game, and hey, we feel good. We'll be back next year. I don't think any of us thought that Denver would be going from 7 to the 1 seed and Denver, having the home field advantage. I have this game going under, okay, and the over-under set at 46. And I have the final score, 24-17 Buffalo.
Okay.
And again, my only thing is, whenever there's this kind of group think, everybody kind of on one side of the ledger here.
Yeah.
Now, next week, if it ends up being Houston, I think Houston beats New England. We can pick the other games here today, too.
Oh, yeah, I have my picks ready to go. Bills are 6-3 against the spread as an underdog since 2024. They're undefeated in 2025 as an underdog, 3-0. Bo Nix, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not. Bo Nix is 1-8 against winning teams that score more than 17 points. I like that stat. I like the idea that road teams in a playoff versus playoff matchup that has occurred this season between playoff teams, road teams who score at least 20 in these playoff versus playoff matchups are 21-10 straight up. I have the Bills winning too, 23-21. So
Okay.
actually a little bit closer than what you have, but still within a score. And I'm saying that kind of conservatively. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this looks more like what last year looked like, where the Bills kind of got off to the Broncos get off to a start and the Bills just completely shut them down, adjust and shut down.
Sometimes we see the 1 seed come out and just get flattened. It was a few years ago, Baltimore, just kind of came out and Tennessee mowed them over.
Yeah.
What was that? kind of thing. So would it surprise me if the Bills got a few takeaways and then all of a sudden they just put the clamps in? I just don't see Josh Allen whipping it around this game. That's my thing. I think we'll keep the ball on the ground, be conservative, and Bo Nix has to make possessions count. Like Trevor Lawrence, he could afford the one turnover. The second one lost you the game.
And they didn't capitalize on the turnover that the Bills had, the Ray Davis fumble as well. That matters. We're going to go to the Mile High with Cody Rourke, who is the host of the Locked On Broncos podcast and Mile High Sports. He will be joining us here in about 15 minutes, and we'll learn more about the Broncos in advance of tomorrow afternoon's matchup here in Denver. Going to be exciting. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com. So the Bills and Broncos get us started. And then we go to the Niners and the Seahawks for the nightcap tomorrow night, the divisional round. Yesterday we learned of the oblique injury that Sam Darnold suffered in practice and what that might mean for this game. Do you have a prediction for the NFC divisional round on Saturday night?
Oh, my gosh. I really thought, Danger, this is where the road went in for the 49ers. Now I think this is the toughest game to pick. Honestly. I honestly do think that now this is tough with the Niners getting 7 points. And I just go back to wait a second. Niners are tough. Divisional matchup. And you mean to tell me that we're essentially saying this is going to be I get the Niners +7? To me, Vegas is saying, go put your money on San Francisco because we kind of know that Seattle, being the home team here, and with that defense, will take care of Brock Purdy. And maybe we just saw this a couple weeks ago and it really didn't look good. I just think this is going to be really, really ugly. How's that for a game there? I will take the Seahawks barely covering this game. I'll say Seahawks by 8.
Brock Purdy is 4-0 lifetime in Seattle. Going Niners, 27. Seahawks, 24. And again, I'm committed. I had the Niners as my preseason Super Bowl pick out of the NFC, so I'm not picking against them now. Yeah, I know what Seattle did to them a couple of weeks ago. That defense is real, but I think the Niners and Brock Purdy, who's unflappable, 4-0 lifetime in Seattle. Give me the Niners to advance to the NFC Championship game. Sunday, Texans-Pats.
Texans in a blowout. I couldn't help myself. I can't.
Texans in a blowout.
Well, I guess how would you define blowout? Is there anything comparable?
I think we define a blowout. In the break room, at least, it's 10 points, right?
All right. Yeah, so I think this is a 2-score win for Houston, and for that reason, the reason being simple. I don't think Drake May has seen anything comparable to the Houston defense.
When I talk about the Broncos having the second easiest schedule of the season, only one team, obviously, with an easier schedule, that team is New England. And I am with you. I don't know that Drake May has seen anything like the Texans' pass rush. I like the Texans as well. I'll go 2016.
And then there is a psychology to we exceeded expectations. For the Patriots to win the division and win a playoff game, there's two things you didn't expect. So to me, if you're a Patriot fan, you've entered the house money portion of the season right here. So I don't think anybody is going to be upset about a divisional. No, next year expectations will be raised. And for the first time, I see Houston hosting an AFC championship game.
Yeah. Oof. So we would have a Texans-Bills championship game.
You and I are in alignment on that.
In Houston. Yep.
All right. That leaves one left.
I'd like to give my prediction first, if I may, Gino, for the NFC divisional game being played Sunday evening in Chicago. I'll go Bears 104, Rams -13. Oh, Sean McVay doesn't like that Ben Johnson didn't shake the hand of Matt LaFleur. He doesn't like it. He didn't like that. He was mean. He said F Green Bay. He doesn't like it. Sean McVay's coaching tree is upset. Y'all, a bunch of guys look like you jumped off the cover of GQ magazine. Shut up. It's a rivalry. I like it. They don't know what they're walking into. Bears, 104. Rams, -13. To match the real field temperature there, Gino.
Ben Johnson was mean to me. he upset. He hurt my feelings.
You're my friend's feelings. This is Ben Johnson. This is me, Sean McVay. And Ben Johnson was very mean to Matt LaFleur. He didn't really shake his hand, and then he said, he swore at him. He cursed him. He cursed at him in the postgame, and I'm very upset at him. Get out of here. Soft.
Sean McVay, we think of, like, veterans in this league, and we think, oh, Andy Reid, and the two guys who, and one guy was fired, the one guy who just quit or retired, whatever you want to say. Sean McVay, danger. This guy has been going to the postseason since 2017, and in his last 4 road games, ATS, he's 3-1. And since the Rams here are last check, okay, they're -3.5. So you could take the dart and throw it across the room and say, hey, the Bears, the Rams win this, but they don't cover. Okay, I'm going to think they cover. I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to do that.
Is anybody working for the Rams? I just want to know. They're prepping for a divisional game, and they're also interviewing for every job that's out there. Like, okay, where do we start? You've got the OC, Mike LaFleur. He's interviewing today with the Cardinals and the Raiders. The passing game coordinator all of a sudden is a big hot named commodity because he had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay. That's Nate Scheelhaus. He's interviewing with the Browns, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Raiders. And the defensive coordinator, Chris Shula, is interviewing with the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Dolphins today. They play on Sunday, but they're I don't know. Is that a distraction? Does that count for anything? They're going to Chicago. It's going to be miserable. They're going to be miserable when they land in Chicago with the weather being what it is. I can't wait.
They gave the Eagles a game last year.
I know.
They gave an Eagle that was a back and forth game in the snow.
Wasn't cold though.
What is the forecast Sunday in Chicago?
Literally going to be like sub-zero wind chills.
Yeah, then that's coming our way. Like next week.
Oh,
yeah. It's going to be awful. So.
Yeah, sign me up. Let's go. I'll take sub-zero wind chills if it means the Bears can get a win at Soldier Field against the favored Rams. I don't want to say it's destiny. I don't know if I believe in all of that, but when you see the way things are going for the Bills and with Josh Allen, and you see the way Caleb Williams is kind of pulling games out of his, who knows? It's going to be fun. Any way you look at it, it's going to be a fun weekend. Lots of action in the NFL. And by the way, just to switch gears real quick, Gino, happy Bo Bichette Day. Congratulations.
Oh, this to me feels like, well, we've got to spend some money. Here we go.
Well, here's how I know it's a good move for your team, because other teams in your division are pissed off that they didn't get this player. The Phillies
wanted Bo Bichette.
They're pissed off.
Yeah, that's the only reason. But you don't have a spot for him defensively.
You can have five second basemen. It doesn't matter.
Right. So they're going to put Bichette at third, move Vientos to first, and then, okay, you have your infield there. For the Jays, they were kind of bracing for this. That's why they signed the third baseman from Japan, and Ernie Clement now will slide over to second, and Jimenez, the second baseman, goes over short. The Jays will be just fine. I really thought Bichette would go to Boston because we think of his dad being a Colorado Rocky. Oh, no. You almost forget Dante Bichette finished up with the Red Sox. Bo Bichette's from Boston. That's his mom is from Boston. That's how they met. So I thought, okay, for the Red Sox. Hey, the Red Sox signed one pitcher, but they didn't get Bichette. So Bo Bichette with the Mets. Okay, it's the Kyle Tucker deal that had me pissed off last night.
Here we go.
Wow. It's great for baseball that we're creating this villain. And
here's what I'll say. You can't say that the Dodgers are ruining baseball. You can't say it. Because every team has the ability to do what the Dodgers are doing. Every team can spend the way they want to spend. The Dodgers are spending the way the Yankees used to spend, and everybody hated the Yankees for doing what they did. And that's all the Dodgers are doing now. I mean, it's all coming to a head, and at some point there's going to be a work stoppage. And in 2027, I don't know what the baseball world looks like.
Well, they can, but is it right? The deferred payments, and I don't know the particulars of Tucker's deal, but even if he's on the books this year, well, that's due in part to, hey, Shohei Ohtani is going to be paid in the year 2040, okay, whatever that is. And if you could put this in the NFL context, can you imagine what the Dallas Cowboys could do if, hey, all of a sudden we can defer this to the year whatever, We're just kind of assuming that, hey, the dollar today is going to be much better than the dollar in 2040. That's really what we're kind of banking on, right? So, to me, Danger, bottom line, enjoy baseball this year because there will be a work stoppage in 2027, and I don't know how far that would go if we're going to have some sort of 1994 Armageddon on our hands.
The Dodgers finished last season with a $417 million tax payroll, which led to a $169 million tax bill that combined for $586 million in total payment. Would you believe that as of right now, the 2026 Dodgers are projecting for less than that? $413 million tax payroll, leading to a $162 million tax bill, combining for $575 million in total.
Well, and part of the problem is that tax bill, it's revenue sharing. It has to go to teams. Hey, Pittsburgh, what the hell? Like, you should be talking to Skeens like right now or beefing up that roster. And I know they've done a few things. Peter writing in, hey, Gene, let the local Jets fan help you out. Broncos 26, Bills 23. Oh, thanks, Peter. I know there's no bias.
Boo this man.
Yeah.
Just boo this man. And then if it happens, he'll be like, I was right. And we'll have to remind Peter, nobody cares when you're right. We only want to tell you when you're wrong. We got to get to Cody Rourke. He is the host of the Locked On Broncos podcast, Mile High Sports in Denver. Joining us next to give us a little bit more on the Denver Broncos here on the Fan Rochester.
4 p.m. today, who the Buffalo Bills are elevating from their practice squad for tomorrow's game in Denver. One of the players that is questionable for this game is Damar Hamlin. Hamlin on the opponent.
I see a great team, a legendary coach who's been in the game forever, having success. I'm led by a young quarterback who, has been a stud all the way through since college. And, they're well put together, well coached, well disciplined, very good team. There's a reason why they're the number one seed.
One place you can hear the game tomorrow, 96.5 WCMF. Pregame coverage begins at noon as we have the Sabres here on our station tomorrow taking on Minnesota. Buffalo now has won 14 of their last 16 on the ice. Bo Bichette has a new home. The XJ landing with the Mets. It's a 3-year deal. Amerks tonight in Belleville. Our coverage will begin at 7. RIT men are at Canisius. The women host Mercyhurst. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Sean's done a great job. When we talk about complementary football, there are a few things that are unique. The opponent's averaging 9 drives. And so, man, if their offense is possessing the ball with the run and the pass, and then, like, we looked at the red zone tape, and there's less red zone snaps because they haven't, and so time of possession, like there are a number of things that they do well together. They're going to stay on top. They'll pressure you. And so, how do you counteract that? The early down efficiency is going to be really important.
There's Sean Payton, Denver Broncos head coach, on facing the Buffalo Bills and the job that Sean McDermott has done, the complementary football. Yes, we've heard about that through the years of Sean McDermott here in Buffalo. We're waiting on Cody Rourke of the Locked On Broncos podcast, Mile High Sports there in Denver, to learn more about the Denver Broncos. Don't forget DA, Damon Amendolara, host of the Bill Maddock podcast, will also be stopping by this afternoon, and we'll talk some more Bills and Broncos with DA coming up next hour. Do we have Cody?
No, we do not. I think we're texting back and forth. I don't think this is another Verizon thing. I hope not. It's like it's just not picking up. But we'll know when he calls in there. We really haven't. It is the one team though, right? That I feel like we don't know enough about, about this offense. Like, who is going to put up points for this team? The one question I want to ask, tell me about the running game here since Dobbins went down here for Denver. Tell me, what would be the plan against Josh Allen? Tell me, what do you do with Patrick Surtain?
All right, well, while we're waiting for Cody, I can share some audio from Sean Payton, Denver Broncos head coach, on facing Josh Allen, number 17.
He does so many things well. When you see him, the first time I really met him was at some golf course, and you realize how big he is and physical he is. So he's hard to bring down. He's powerful, and he's probably first in the league in second act explosives. Where he climbs, moves, and then tracks somebody. So there's a lot that goes into that relative to defending him. He's got tremendous legs. He's a fantastic competitor, and so he was the difference when that game that was close last weekend, and here it is, the final drive. It's been a while since I've seen someone gain 7 yards on a sneak, but he's one of the stars of our league, and you see it year in and year out.
And what do you do to defend Josh Allen? How about the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain, talking about Josh Allen?
He's been great. He puts the team on his back for sure in critical moments. He finds a way to come through in the clutch. And obviously, he's got all the attributes. But, one thing that I picked up on is obviously his toughness, how he's able to lead his team to victory. And one thing that we got to eliminate is, his second chance opportunities. He thrives off that, finding opportunities even if the play's not there. So, he's a great player. So we got a game plan and, eliminate the explosives.
More love on Josh Allen being paid by quarterback Bo Nix.
Well, he's incredible. He's a MVP of the league for a reason. He continues to make play after play when sort of the game's not necessarily looking like he can make the play. He just goes out there and does superhero stuff. And I think one of the things that separates him is just his toughness, his ability to go play after play, and at his max, velocity, his max peak performance. And, it's been fun to watch him play over the course of his career. It feels like, he just got in the league, but he's been in there for a while at this point and making play after play. And he's just a kind of a generational talent. You don't see that all the time. Guys as big as, the D linemen just being able to be as athletic as skill players. It's not normal. And his, got great arm strength too. So it's one of those things where he can do it all at a high level, and it's always been fun to watch.
Cody Rourke of the Locked On Broncos podcast, Mile High Sports, joining us now in the Sports Bar from Denver. And Cody, as you're joining us, we just listened to a good 2 minutes or so of Sean Payton, Pat Surtain, and Bo Nix heaping praise on Josh Allen. And there's a lot of Bills fans that like this matchup for Buffalo. How are Bronco fans feeling about this matchup being the 1 seed and knowing that it's the team that dispatched of you last season in the postseason? 1 year later, here we are, and Denver gets to host the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'd say, this is a different Denver team than last year. Certainly you're bringing a lot of players back, but you're finding a team that's got a little bit more confidence, a little bit more belief. They've obviously added some key off-season personnel upgrades this off-season, and Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga. They've drafted well. They're getting some nice contributions from their rookies, and they have young players that are continuing to draft and develop, obviously, here in Sean Payton's system. So there's just a lot of moving pieces here, and obviously the Bills are a little banged up, but, that's still a very good football team. And the big reason why is who's that quarterback right there, Josh Allen. He is – people are calling him the NFL Superman right now. He's tough as nails. And, we've seen him kind of shoulder the load. He really took over that Jaguars game last week, and Denver's going to have to account for him and be on their P's and Q's. Yeah,
let's start with the defense because you have one of the best in Patrick Surtain. How will they utilize Surtain in this matchup? Buffalo really doesn't have a true number one. They have a chain mover, certainly, in Shakir. Do they follow Shakir, but he lines up in the slot? Or do they put Surtain on Dalton Kincaid? Which, if that's the case, well, then maybe he'll have to do more in the in the run defense. Again, Surtain, will he follow somebody around? How do they use that chess piece, Cody?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure they follow this week. I think they may just kind of stay Surtain to the field, Riley Moss to the boundary. I think they're comfortable playing those guys anywhere. If Shakira gets hot early, let's say they don't move Surtain around everywhere he goes. If he gets hot early, they may switch that up. But, I just think right now they're just, trying to play their game, essentially. I feel like if Buffalo had healthier receivers at this point, obviously they're down. I think the next thing you have to worry about is James Cook out of the backfield, or the, 3 tight ends that you guys have there. They're really just going to try to line up and play their game. I think the big key for them is trying to limit James Cook and Josh Allen on the ground with his legs, but also the scramble drill. And so, essentially, their guys are going to have to cover twice. I think that this is going to be one of those games we don't see Surtain travel, and that's not saying that they're overlooking Buffalo in any way, shape, or form. I just think that in this kind of matchup here, when you're going against a guy like Josh Allen, all the motion, all the different window dressing that Bills offense likes to do, you can't let them dictate where you move guys, right? So I think you're going to try to straight up play their game here against this offense.
Cody, would it surprise you in this game if it did come down to a play or two where a defensive pass interference is called? We know that Denver leads the league, and we know that Carl Sheffers is calling this game, and his crew has called the second most penalties of any crew this season. And I'm specifically looking in the direction of Riley Moss in terms of a play or two that could tilt things if the Bills decide they want to try downfield.
Maybe. I'm sure that the Bills will try it. Other teams have tried it as well. And I'll say this. I feel like half of the penalties, the PIs on Riley, there have been some valid ones. I feel like half of them, though, have been very ticky-tack, guys getting in phase. It's hard to play DB in today's NFL. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills try that downfield. Why not? Especially at altitude. Josh Allen's got a mega arm anyways. Why not throw it downfield and see if you can maybe get a 45-yard first down on one of those plays there. But I just hope the officials let these two teams play. It's the playoffs. I don't think anybody tunes in to watch guys throw flags on the field and have 20 overall flags between two teams. That's just not good for the sport, not good for the postseason. So my hope is that they let them play.
Cordy Rourke, My Ohio Sports, also Locked On Broncos podcast, will be joining us here in the sports bar. Dre Greenlaw is back. Tell us to what extent is he going to be 100% here? We heard the snarky comment from Sean Payton. Really didn't give that much of an answer, but how big a help is that going to be this week?
Yeah, Dre's going to be big. I mean, the problem with Dre is that we haven't seen a lot of him this year. We saw him in the Houston game, and he came up big, and it almost kind of reminded you, like, hey, this is why you got a guy like Dre Greenlaw, because he stuck Woody Marks at the 1-yard line on 2 consecutive plays. So you want to be able to have, that kind of in your back pocket a little bit with having Dre, maybe someone who could spy Josh Allen in certain situations, or also, a guy that can, I don't say Dre can just straight up cover James Cook 1-to-1, but he's athletic enough where I think he could have an advantage if he takes the right angle. So getting Dre back is good, but gentlemen, do not be surprised if in fact Dre's on a little bit of a pitch count this week, coming off of the hamstring injury. It's been something that he's dealt with for quite some time in terms of his quad, in terms of other injuries. They're going to be very smart with how they bring him along, and I think that's going to have to be something we pay attention to here.
Cody, I've been paying attention to what a lot of Broncos beat reporters are saying this week. One of the things that makes them nervous is Denver's defense against the tight end. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, well, look, I think coming out of the bye week, we've seen a lot of teams, the Washington Commanders specifically, they were one team that found a way to kind of exploit, tight end matchups a little bit, getting guys involved in space, and that's been something that Denver struggled to stop a little bit. But I think rookie cornerback Jahdae Barron, obviously the first-round pick, he's going to be one of those guys they try to utilize in a sense against tight ends. They did that against Jake Ferguson when they played the Dallas Cowboys. They did that against a handful of other players like Brock Bowers as well, especially when Pat Surtain was out of the lineup. So keep an eye on that as something that Denver's probably going to try to do this week, obviously going against Buffalo and trying to obviously capitalize on some of those matchups. But certainly I think it's just in space. It's the scramble drill. It's catching guys. If you're in man coverage, one guy sits and maybe he gives a shake or a different type of move. We've seen that happen where a guy's eyes are in the backfield sometimes a little bit too long, and they can't let that happen, obviously, in this game here against Buffalo, because Josh Allen will certainly make them pay for it, and that's not something that you want to have to run into or certainly deal with.
Cody, on the other side of the ball, before we get to Bo Nix, when we saw the Bills' defense going against Jacksonville, Bills are giving up yards on the ground. They have all season, right? 31st run defense and a lot of yards on the outside, to the point where if you're doing an autopsy on the Jacksonville season, you're wondering, like, why didn't we use that more there between Tootin and Etienne? The question is R.J. Harvey. We see the numbers of him coming out of the backfield. McLaughlin, how is this Denver rushing attack matching up here against those Buffalo linebackers, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I think so much of it is just about being able to get north-south quickly. Denver's tried to navigate their run game a little bit more since J.K. Dobbins went down with his injury. R.J. Harvey was kind of thriving in that behind, like kind of that backup role where he's getting secondary touches. But now he's had to grow up a little bit and face a little bit more of a workload, an extensive one at that. So I think like leaning on guys like Jaleel McLaughlin, you want to do that. You want to find a way to get things going, because obviously the Bills, they gave up some big yards on the ground to, obviously, as you mentioned, Tootin last week. But then the Jacksonville Jaguars kind of went away from it at times. Yep. And that's obviously, as you saw Trevor Lawrence throw a couple of interceptions. So for Denver, I think it's just being consistent with their approach. And Sean Payton even talked about it yesterday as a play caller. Even if it's not working from time to time, not giving up on it, finding a way to stick with it. And that's going to be paramount, because this Buffalo Bills defense is very good at compressing the field, taking away the vertical options and funneling everything inside. And having athletic linebackers lets you do that. So that's going to be, I think, a very, very big key here for Denver this week. How they get it done, I mean, a lot of people are asking that question right now is, can they find a way to be consistent with it, to run the ball against this defense and keep Josh Allen off the field? That is probably one of the more important things that you're going to have to do in this game to obviously sustain it. Because if you're going 3 and out, you're giving Josh Allen and the offense a little bit more in terms of extra opportunities it's going to be hard to sustain that through the course of, obviously, a game. The last time these two teams played in the playoffs, we saw that kind of play out. 42 minutes time of possession by the Bills in that game against Denver, and they couldn't figure out how to get stops, how to get Josh Allen off the field. So my hope is that they can find a way to kind of rectify that this time around.
Cody, let's talk about that, because that's one of the first things you think about if you're a Bills fan is the day that James Cook had that day, over 100 yards rushing. Now, last week when the Bills were playing Jacksonville, a lot was made of Jacksonville being the best run defense in the NFL. And to their credit, they stifled James Cook, and the Bills had to kind of rely on Khalil Shakir as an extension of the run game. What about Denver's run defense? Because they're not much worse than what Jacksonville put out there, but I'm wondering about the actual physical advantage that the Bills' offensive line may have against Denver's defense and how much that might be different from 2024 to 2025.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. I think so much of it is about finesse. The challenge with that is figuring out, okay, well, how do we respect maybe some read option stuff here, right? If Josh Allen's going to keep the football on certain plays, certain drives, and, he's trying to read James Cook and they're trying to make something happen, it's not letting James Cook get outside. Obviously, your contain is going to be very important here. But the inside run game as well, you have to avoid that from going off. And I'm not sure yet. Has it been announced? Is Ty Johnson a game time decision, or is he playing in this game?
We'll find out by 4 o'clock. Well, we won't for sure, but if you see Frank Gore Jr. get elevated, that means that Ty Johnson, that means that Ty Johnson, so we have by 4 o'clock, that's our time. 18 minutes from now, we'll hear, the elevations here. Cody, what question for you here about just kind of the temperature? And let me lay this out here, because Josh Allen doesn't really let you behind the curtain of what kind of, motivates him and everything. When he's in front of the media, he's always kind of saying the right thing. But, Danger, you remember this game. It's Patrick Mahomes going to Chicago, and he's on the field making a gesture, making it known to Bear fans, hey, you guys passed on me. So I'm sure that Patrick Mahomes maybe on draft night was thinking he was going to be a Chicago Bear. I go back to that draft in 2018 where Laramie, Wyoming's only a 2-hour drive from Denver, and the Broncos at 5 kind of sort of need a quarterback, but no, you took Bradley Chubb. Is there any woulda, coulda, shoulda when you look back there at how Denver passed on Josh Allen back in that draft?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. It certainly has been a huge talking point here in Denver for the last handful of years. I think maybe the bigger challenge with the whole Josh Allen scenario is, at the time, like John Elway has acknowledged that he would have drafted Josh Allen, but the issue was he didn't have the coaches on staff that were willing to do it. There was not buy-in from the coaching staff. And so that was obviously an issue. I mean, hindsight's obviously 2020. I don't know, though, if Josh would have been able to develop into the player that he is here in Denver with the revolving door of coaches and everything else that was going on in Denver at the time. But that would certainly be a hope, is that, maybe he does use that as motivation. I think for Josh's career path, I think he's exactly where he should have been, right? He ended up exactly where he needed to be. And in Denver, I'm not sure if that would have been there. But you know what? Anything to get motivation, anything to get a little bit of bulletin board material, right? I mean, why not? This is the NFL. If you can't find ways to motivate yourself, then I don't know why you guys play this game. Josh Allen, though, man, he's grown into becoming one hell of a player here in the NFL. He's been fun to see.
Cody, have you allowed yourself to envision what the world might look like on Monday, and if Denver were to beat Buffalo, who you would prefer to see at Mile High in the championship game?
Well, I feel like regardless, whether it's Houston, whether it's New England, both of those units are going to be tough to deal with regardless. So I don't know. I always just feel like anytime a Denver-New England AFC championship game can happen, it's always great, right? Right now there's a social media rivalry between Broncos fans and Patriots fans about Bo Nix and Drake May, and they're just trying to poke shots at each other. When the reality, in my opinion, is simple. They're two very good young quarterbacks. Why not start a new rivalry? Like, why can't even, in this situation, unfortunately, it's not going to play out that way. But imagine Josh Allen versus Bo Nix in an AFC championship game. I don't know. I think the narratives that we see often in this game are very interesting. Houston's defense is very tough. I think even like Bills fans would probably acknowledge that would probably be one that would be a tough one for them to go against. They found a way to hold on, obviously. So I think Denver, New England. I think that's what I would like to see, but we could end up seeing a Buffalo, New England divisional rematch in the conference championship if Denver can't play their best game.
Are you worried that tomorrow will be the revenge game for Matt Prater?
I don't think so. I mean, Matt obviously has, historic ties to the franchise. The challenge, I think, with Prater is just, I know he's kind of been on and off the injury report with the quad injury. How consistent he going to be? I know he can still probably boom it. I don't think he'll probably be able to boom it at the same rate he used to when he was kicking in Denver, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm very, very curious to see how that's going to play out.
Cody, what are you working on here leading up to kickoff tomorrow that we can check out at the Locked On Broncos pod at Mile High Sports?
Yeah, we did our final game preview here today on Locked On Broncos, but I feel like if there's anything really worth checking out, it is going to be what Sean Payton talked about yesterday in his press conference with us. I kind of wrote about how Sean Payton's time away when he retired, briefly in 2021, how that impacted, his drive. He was missing something every single day. He was loving the Fox work as an analyst, but, for him, it's different when you're not preparing for a football game. And now he's got the Broncos preparing for a big football game, arguably the biggest game since Super Bowl 50 in the last 10 years for this franchise. So I think all those circumstances there, you kind of get a little peek behind the curtain of how Sean Payton thinks. I think people would love to check that out.
Yeah, Cody, great stuff. Expecting a great game tomorrow. Appreciate the time. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Good luck to the Bills, obviously, on Saturday, and hopefully we get to talk soon.
You got it, Cody. Be good. Enjoy the weekend. Cody Rourke, Locked On Broncos, Mile High Sports, checking in from Denver and giving us the latest on the Broncos.
Notice he said Bills Patriots. I'm thinking like in the back of their mind, they're like, okay, this is really good, but this is the test. Or do you look at it from, oh my gosh, if we get by Buffalo, all right, we're going back to the Super Bowl.
I just think when I look at who's left, when I look at the Final Four in the AFC, the reason why I'm still high on the Bills is more than anything is they have the best quarterback left in the field. You can compare and contrast, who's got the best coach. You could say Sean Payton's the best coach that's remaining. I'll listen to that. But I don't think there's a debate. I think it's Josh Allen and everybody else. And
well, if you rank the four in the AFC, because Josh Allen's one, who would you put 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, it's May, Nix, and CJ.
I would say entering the season, CJ Stroud would have been ahead of Bo Nix, but the way CJ Stroud is playing right now,
he's sloppy.
Yeah.
He's sloppy. And no Nico Collins either, by the way, ruled out for Sunday's game.
Yeah, that's not good for Houston. Coaches. Right?
It's tight. I'd go Peyton, Vrabel, McDermott, Ryans.
I would put McDermott ahead of Vrabel.
Yeah, I think the job that Vrabel and it's unfair because I've never seen Sean McDermott turned around an organization years ago, but what Vrabel did in his first year and turning over a culture, making it, making the Patriots, albeit against a pretty soft schedule, but making them a divisional champ again and having gotten to that point as well.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not being fair to McDermott. Maybe it should be McDermott too. He's gotten to a couple of AFC championship games.
One more, and this is not an easy one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rank the 4 defenses.
Houston, Denver, New England, Buffalo.
I want to put Buffalo ahead of New England.
I don't think I can. I mean, hey, giving up a 21-point lead is a bit of it's problematic, sure. How much of that was on the defense? How much of that was on Josh Allen and the Bills? I mean, that's tough. But the Bills' inconsistencies defensively this year, I don't have a ton of confidence in the defense. I do have a ton of confidence in the quarterback. And if the defense continues to be this bend but don't break and they give up 24 points in a game.
But you're going to get
Score
a
30.
stop.
You're
going to get a stop.
Yeah, and score 30. The Sean McDermott defenses, mentioned this yesterday, have never allowed more than 27 points in any playoff game except for the 3 that they played at Kansas City. For what that's worth. So, going to be fun. Going to be a lot of fun. And appreciate Cody joining us here and giving us some of his insight into the Denver Broncos. Big tight end game. I think the big tight end game.
I think so. We'll get the thoughts of DA, Damon Amendolara, the Bill Maddock podcast, Sirius XM. He will join us, as he normally does, at 4:30 coming up. Also, gosh, Danger, like by the time we get to the sports update, we will know if the Buffalo Bills, they have to put out the alert by 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Who they're elevating.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back with that information here. We'll learn exactly what they're doing as far as elevations for tomorrow afternoon's game in Denver. Stay in the sports bar. We have time for your calls as well if you want to pull up a stool. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
WBEE. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
We should learn shortly who the Bills are elevating from the practice squad in time for tomorrow's divisional game in Denver. Cole Bishop on defending Bo Nix and the Broncos.
There's always going to be two plays with mobile quarterbacks, especially him, like you said. So being able to plaster in coverage and just know that, you might win the first play, but then there's a second play. So being able to just stay disciplined on your guy.
Bills and Broncos coverage begins at noon tomorrow on 96.5 WCMF. Damon Amendolara, the Billmatic podcast, joining us later this hour to talk some Buffalo Bills. Bo Bichette signing a 3-year deal today with the New York Mets. Amerks tonight playing in Belleville. We'll have the call for you beginning at 7 o'clock. The RIT men, it's a home-and-home with Canisius tonight in Buffalo. The women hosting Mercyhurst. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amerks. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hour 2 of an abbreviated sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us here. We've got divisional round football this weekend. We've got a college football national championship coming up on Monday night. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
And abbreviated on Monday as well. It's a holiday for many of you. We will be coming in, win or lose, for the Buffalo Bills tomorrow after Amerks hockey on Monday afternoon.
The Amerks are in Syracuse Monday, so we'll have the call 1 o'clock. So figure we'll be on, 3:30-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think. Nate Geary will join us also on Monday. So, look, I want to be only playing Bruno Martinez. Can we play Bruno during the Amerks game, do you think? I think that should be like, we could do this just to mess with Moss Brooks. Like, if the Amerks win on Saturday and the Amerks play at 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So, coming back from the break, just the piano tones of Bruno.
Good bumper music. All right, we have the news from the Buffalo Bills.
You beat me to it.
Yep, they've made the roster moves here. Curtis Samuel and Ed Oliver have both been activated from injured reserve. From the practice squad, Mecole Hardman and Frank Gore Jr. updated from the practice squad.
Okay. I think your headline story there, Danger, is Ed Oliver's back. Ed Oliver's back. You're not activating him to have him as a game day inactive. So he goes up, and can he give you – how many snaps do you want at Ed Oliver?
20.
Yep, something like that. We knew Samuel was going to go up be activated from IR.
By the way, Samuel, we forget, in that game last year against Denver, Samuel absolutely torched Denver. Torched them. Ran through half of their defense.
There's just the one play, and really it is the only play for Curtis Samuel in his time in Buffalo where you go, oh, that's what it was. Yeah. It's it's the equivalent of the point guard crossover, where just all of a sudden you broke the ankle of the defensive back, bam, you reverse your field,
and you're gone.
Touchdown Buffalo. And so can you get one play out of Curtis Samuel? I hate the fact that Ty Johnson isn't available.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And Frank Gore Jr. is not anywhere close to the level. They tried last week. I'm just thinking you have Cook out there as much as he wants.
I was going to say, you're going to get your wish. I mean, last year at this time, we were wondering why James Cook wasn't on the field for third down in a pivotal, moment for the Bills against the Chiefs. At this point, James Cook should be out there third down, and you're going to have to hope that if he needs to protect, that he can block and he can protect Josh Allen.
Well, James Cook on third down, if you're, trailing or tied in the fourth quarter or you need that drive, well, there's going to be a fourth down too. So, honestly, give Ty Johnson another week with that high ankle. It's just you can't will that injury. The body is just not going to respond. I don't know what to expect on Oliver. I got to be honest. Like, Oliver came back in that Carolina game, and he's blowing up.
He's been great.
Yeah, he's been great.
In every game he's been in this year, he's registered a sack. He's been great. He just hasn't been healthy for the majority of the season. And it'll be good to see him out there, and hopefully he's impactful and healthy enough to be the player that we saw earlier this year. And with the Hardman news, Christian Wilkerson was intriguing to me because he's a body, he's a bigger guy, but Hardman does deliver a playoff experience, certainly more speed, and if he's out there for a deep shot or two, I would welcome that as well.
Well, it's a concern because Tyrell Shavers as that blocker on the boundary, fantastic job, unsung hero on this team, and if you're looking who might that guy be, it goes back to our conversation yesterday with Stevie Johnson. Keon Coleman. We talked to Corey Rourke last hour from Locked On Broncos, and I'm just been wondering, how do you utilize Patrick Surtain? And I think the answer is it's not going to be anything exotic. He's going to stay wherever he feels like he's best on the field. If that's against Brandon Cooks, danger, that's a win for Buffalo. Honestly, okay, great. Then Keon Coleman, good luck here against Riley Moss, because that's a matchup I think you can win, buddy.
We're dialed in on who was activated from IR. Who was not activated from IR should also tell you what their plans might be.
Oh. We just played some sound from him in the last update.
DeMar Hamlin's been talking, and he's been practicing, but he remains on IR. They did not activate him from IR. So is it Cam Lewis? Is it Jordan Hancock?
No, dude, you're going to need Hancock because Cam Lewis is your dime backer. So to what degree are you going to have Hancock out there? That's fascinating. That's a good call there. Like, no Hamlin in this game.
Yep. I kind of like it. I've been saying it all week. I know that Hancock had a rough outing against Jacksonville, thrust into the game after Poyer left, and certainly Poyer has the familiarity with the defense. But, man, when you want to talk about a player that needs to step up and can make an impact and cement his future with an organization, if you're Jordan Hancock and you have a game against Denver, you make a play.
But then again, maybe it's not Jordan Hancock. I would trust Cam Lewis back in that spot.
Sure. Yeah.
Dude, neither option's great. Can we just say that?
Well, do you have a Cam Lewis is your guy that something happens to Taron Johnson, you need Cam Lewis to play nickel, right?
Mm.
Or do you put Hancock in that role? Is
it Sean McDermott? Because, okay, they could have done something else, Danger. They could have put Jordan Poyer on IR.
They didn't do that.
You put Jordan Poyer on IR, and then you're signing Hamlin to the 53 or whoever to the 53.
You're also saying that's the end of the career for Jordan Poyer. And if this goes on.
Could you still I don't think you can do that. I think that you're pretty much locked in at this point. I'm wondering, can you do that tonight or tomorrow at some point? I don't think that would be kind of the backdoor move for Hamlin.
Yeah. Oh, they also have Darnell Savage. Forgot about that signing, that Darnell Savage is out. We haven't seen a ton of him out there at safety, but I forgot. Yeah, you have him as well. So we'll see how that shakes out, who gets the start in the in the Buffalo defensive backfield opposite Cole Bishop. But the big news, obviously, Ed Oliver has been activated, and Curtis Samuel has been activated. And Frank Gore Jr. being elevated from the practice squad pretty much cements that we won't see Ty Johnson. Mecole Hardman will be your fifth wide receiver. Fantastic. And the Bills are operating. They're actually delivering us the news in a somewhat timely fashion. We didn't have to wait 15 minutes past the deadline.
Well, I'm like, okay, 4 o'clock. Where is it? Hey, did they forget? They didn't forget. They got it in time. I don't know. Hardman and Samuel, I still think it's tough to expect them to make a play. I'm just kind of going with
the speed guys. Hey, look, they're speed guys. And specifically, and Chris in South Central Kentucky, one of our regulars on X, you can reach out to us at the Fan Rochester, pointing out, and it's a fair point. I don't know how impactful it is, but Hardman, all those years in Kansas City, does have familiarity with Denver's defense, for what that's worth. So, but I like the speed, and you might have to use it maybe you spread out that Denver defense a little bit to open up the run game and do a lot of what you did last year, which is control the clock, run the football, keep Denver sidelined offensively. And who knows? If it's the same script, it's a one-sided affair, and we're napping. It's going to be fun.
Can I go back to the headline, though? You're going to have Ed Oliver paired up with Deion Walker. Or then TJ Sanders can come in as the third D tackle.
Yeah. And Bo Nix is susceptible to that pressure up the middle. That's going to be fun. That's a big boost for the Bills defense. And hopefully he's healthy enough to be impactful, and he looks like the player that we saw earlier this season. That would be fantastic for the Buffalo Bills. DA, Damon Amendolara, the Bill Maddock podcast, will stop by the sports bar here in a few, and we'll continue to discuss the Bills and the Broncos matchup tomorrow afternoon from Mile High. Other news from around the NFL in the coaching carousel. A second interview for Jim Schwartz with the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so they're taking an internal candidate pretty seriously, at least given the optics of that they're taking it seriously with a second interview for Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz doesn't feel like a guy to me for that job. A lot of these guys that have been around a long, long time, I just don't see NFL owners going in that direction anymore. They want young. They want new. They want up and coming. Why? Because they don't have to pay him as much, and they connect easier to the locker room. It's an easier thing. It's an easier fit, even if you don't have experience. You watch these guys, all these guys that have had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay that are getting interviews in L.A., Sean McVay is going to be looking for a new staff again next year. A new DC, a new OC, a new passing game coordinator. They're all going to get jobs because it came from the Sean McVay coaching tree.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's almost like out of central casting. If Sean McVay was a coach anywhere but L.A., it wouldn't be the same. I'm sorry. That's also part of this. Hey, I want to clarify something. Joe Buscaglia pointing this out. Would the Bills be using the Frank Gore elevation as gamesmanship? They elevate him. That doesn't mean Ty Johnson is scratched today. It just could mean Gore is there. If Ty Johnson goes out to Denver, like, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, coach. This could be just a game-time decision for Ty Johnson.
We'll see. When do they normally give the inactives?
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Hour and a half ahead of time.
So we'll see. I don't think it bodes well. And Frank Gore, was he a liability last week against Jacksonville when he was out there?
Committed a penalty.
Oh, that's right. They called the wrong number.
Ty Johnson. Yeah, it's your penalty.
Call Ty Johnson's number. Yeah, we don't like that. But, it'll be interesting to see how they deploy him, how they use him, how much Ray Davis is involved, how much they go to James Cook. They couldn't get it going against Jacksonville, which is why Shakir had the game he had. It's kind of nice to have that extension of the run game at your ready if you're Josh Allen. And maybe you don't need it because I know that they're just slightly below where Jacksonville is against the run, but you ran it down their throats 12 months ago. And I think that there's a physical advantage there for the Buffalo Bills to exploit.
I hope you're right, but I also think there's an advantage of having a week off. If you're Denver, it's like that's. And we've been talking about the altitude, whatever. It's not going to affect Josh Allen. He played crying out loud at a higher altitude in Wyoming. I just think it's an all-hands kind of on-deck sort of game here for Buffalo. I'd like to paint a picture where, hey, there's going to be a few turnovers, and everybody's just kind of relaxed, and by 6 o'clock, hey, make your plans for the AFC Championship game. We just don't know where. I don't think it's going to go that way at all.
What about the rest of the games in the divisional round here? We've got 4 games. We've spent plenty of time talking Bills and Broncos through the course of the week. Niners, Seahawks got a little bit interesting yesterday when we learned that Sam Darnold ended up on the injury report as questionable with an oblique injury. Says he's going to go, and we have no reason to believe he's not going to go. But the Seahawks, the 1 seed in the NFC, hosting the Niners, who upset the Eagles last weekend.
Yeah, it's that is going to be a fun thing. Mike Vrabel, he's only 3-3 in the postseason. Wouldn't you think there would be more? But then you realize, oh yeah, there were some Titan teams that just weren't very good. So I mean, I don't think that New England comes in as this big heavy favorite here. Gosh, I'm still thinking Houston takes it, though. I still think they take it
Agree.
right.
Agree. Low scoring, I say 2016 Texans on Sunday afternoon. And I like the Niners. I like the Niners on Saturday night. Brock Purdy is undefeated lifetime in Seattle, 4-0.
Give us your honest pick, though. And you can't go to the Bill Schwarsky superfan voice here.
Why can't I?
No, not for the point. Like, do you really, in your heart of hearts, think that Chicago can fart around like they do? They do. They fart around against opponents, and then they pull it together.
I can't explain it, man. There's it's a magical thing that you know, as a Chicago sports fan, there are memories that I have, times of my fandom where I can say, I don't know that the Bears were the better team, but the year that they went to the Super Bowl and they beat Seattle in the postseason, I'll remember the look of fear in Matt Hasselbeck's eyes when they panned to him on the sideline and Jim Cornelison is belting out the national anthem and the entire stadium is screaming, roaring during the national anthem, not singing, roaring, just screaming. And that's happening again. And it's going to be cold and it's bear weather. And there's just something about it that I can't say it's going to end. And this is great, right? Like, you've got an offensive genius in McVay against Ben Johnson, two guys that know offense really well. And Ben Johnson has some stuff on McVay as the Lions offensive coordinator. He beat McVay multiple times. So I don't think it's just as cut and dry as the Rams have the better roster and they have more talented players and they have Matt Stafford. I don't like the Rams going into Soldier Field in cold weather. And I don't know that the Bears feel like the Commanders of 2024. I mean, it feels like this is a game that they could surprise the people, upset the Rams. And, I mean, if it plays out, they're hosting the Niners in the NFC Championship game. I don't know if that's crazy. It's a little crazy and a little biased. And it's all found money for me right now.
You were wondering, like, okay, is it really fair to pull Matthew Stafford outdoor game numbers in his career? Because, well, he played on some really bad Lion teams.
Yeah.
But I think this is telling danger. Cold weather games and the way this is being defined, below 40. Okay, look, if it's 39 in Rochester today, 2 thumbs up. Stafford all time, just, straight up record, 3-3. 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, the caveat here being, it ain't going to be 39 degrees in Chicago Saturday night or Sunday night. Right? What, single digits you're thinking? Or?
No, I mean, wind chill, sub-zero wind chills as of right now. And that wind off the lake will be at least 15 miles an hour. It's going to be cold. It's going to be miserable. I have this vision in my head that dates back to that Seattle game where these guys come in and they think they know, but they don't know.
Okay, so full stop. It's going to be cold and miserable. Why would you give this up? Why? I'm so pleased that the Buffalo Bills, if we get to a postseason game, in Buffalo once again, we'll have that advantage. You're just going to be another cookie cutter dome.
Yeah.
Or maybe it never happens.
Who knows,
What is
man?
that? Like, is that on the table? Like, there will never be a stadium in Chicago. We're here forever.
Yeah, billionaires hate making money. They're just going to stop making money. That's how it works.
Well, no, he doesn't want to pay for his own stadium.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come down to, Indiana giving them a sweetheart deal and them looking at a site in Indiana and trying to pair it up against what they have in Arlington Heights and using the two to try and get the best deal possible for the billionaire owner.
You would feel gross if they
Terrible.
moved to Indiana.
Terrible. I don't want that to happen.
No.
Arlington Heights is okay. It's where I was born. Selfishly, I'm like, okay, I could live with that. It's closer to O'Hare. It's not downtown, but yeah, I think that would be okay. Indiana, gross. No, I would. But what do you need to make a negotiation happen, right? You need
a deadline.
You need a deadline, and you need two sides, and you need like this versus that, and you don't have anybody. So that would be gross. I would hate that. But you're right. It is an advantage. And, why did the Bills not put a dome on it? I don't know. I mean, Buffalo not having the infrastructure to host the kind of major events that having a dome stadium afford you might be part of it.
Sure it is. Like, are you really going to get a Super Bowl or Final Four or something like that?
Right.
Maybe you get a concert in January you normally wouldn't have, but like whatever.
I promise you, Kansas City and Chicago, they're looking at Indianapolis and saying, why? Why does Indianapolis get all the cool stuff? Indianapolis? We're Chicago.
But on the other hand, having just been to Kansas City, like, where they're going to put the stadium out there? I mean, like for us driving to Batavia.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
They're not
I'm
happy.
sorry.
They're not happy about it. They are not happy about it. All right, we got to get to DA. Damon Amendolara, host of the Bill Maddock podcast, our buddy. He's going to join us next. We'll talk more Bills and Broncos with DA here on The Fan.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Ed Oliver is back. Oliver and wide receiver Curtis Samuel have been activated off the IR to the 53-man roster. Two practice squad elevations for Buffalo are McCole Hartman and Frank Gore Jr. Cole Bishop on defending Bo Nix.
There's always going to be two plays with mobile quarterbacks, especially him, like you said. So being able to plaster in coverage and just know that you might win the first play, but then there's a second play. So being able to just stay disciplined on your guy.
Damon Amendolara, SiriusXM, and the Bill Maddock podcast joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Bo Bichette is a New York Met. It's a 3-year deal. Amerks tonight, first of 3 straight on the road. First stop is Belleville. We'll have the call beginning at 7. The RIT men are at Canisius tonight. The women taking on Mercyhurst. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Bills Broncos coming up tomorrow afternoon. We welcome in DA, Damon Amendolara, host of the Bill Maddock podcast. It's good to get to talk to you for another week, bud. They get it done in Jacksonville, and you had one of our mutual friends in Maggie Gray on your show recently. We had her on talking Bills earlier last week, and I love that she shared with you a little vulnerability there, sharing how the snow started to fall in her, in New York when Josh Allen went on a game-winning drive against Jacksonville. This is. Do you buy into the idea that this is a magical season for the Bills, knowing that it's kind of broken the way that it's broken? And let's face it, it feels like a lot of people are saying this is a better matchup for the Bills this weekend than what they got through last weekend.
Let me tell you, apparently it's now a time to believe if all it takes for a Bills fan like Maggie was a little snow outside of her window to start thinking this might be our year. That's all it took, Maggie? I mean, for how many years you said there's no way, and now a little snow. Yeah, I do. I think it's really interesting. This time last week, there was so much doubt amongst Bills fans. Can you go on the road and beat the Jaguars? Can you go on the road anywhere and win? The end of the regular season was so uninspired with that loss against the Eagles. Of course, the final game at Highmark was tremendous, but that was just a cleanup exhibition. And the win over the Jaguars just changed a lot of people's belief and expectations and looking for something maybe that's a part of a higher power, which I just find delightful because all year long, if you've been watching my podcast, my Bill Maddock podcast, I've talked with you guys about this. I have used each week to find a way to honor the buffalo. And the buffalo is a sacred creature in so many ancient cultures. And I said, if the Bills ever were going to do it, there always has to be higher forces. Ask any Cubs fan about 2016. Ask any fan that has followed a team that was heartbreak until it wasn't. And there were things that felt a little mystical. And there is something about, last week where you go from no way, it's not the year, this isn't the team, to, well, maybe is it? And you start plotting, well, how about this? And how about that? And how about this? And look, there's a long way to go, but I do believe, to your original point, there was a shift in belief that happened with the win against the Jaguars.
DA, it's not snow for me. It's 1992 because we're all feeling that way. Jim Kelly's not available. Thurman Thomas isn't available. And the Bills are losing big to Houston. And then you have the comeback. And, we have to go on the road against Pittsburgh the next round. They took care of business 21-3. DA, that was the last time the Bills won on the road in the divisional round. So, look, I'm always trying to make that connection as you are to the past here and how this could be special. But if everybody's rushing in one way, should we be tapping on the brakes here? Because Denver is the 1 seed, and they do have that extra week of rest here. Like, just this matchup here, how difficult is this going to be for Buffalo going into Denver?
Well, look, the reality is, if it was ever going to be, it was going to have to be tough. And I know that that's not preferable because you'd like to be the 1 seed with the bye and 2 home games and weakened, injured teams limping into your building, and you blow them out by 30 points. But that's just not the reality here. And so you're going to have to play really good football teams because at some point you always have to, and also because you're the wild card this year. The Broncos are the number 1 seed for a reason. There really was never in the AFC a really strong take on all comers type team. It was going to have to be somebody who was good but also flawed. And that's who the Denver Broncos are. Now, they are deserving of the 1 seed primarily because of their defense and primarily because of their home field advantage. They've been phenomenal at Mile High. They've only lost 1 game all season long. And you got to tip your cap to a team that can do a little bit of everything, but specifically on defense has shut down a lot of good quarterbacks and offenses along the way. So nothing about tomorrow is going to be easy. However, in the other side of that coin, there was no perfect candidate for the 1 seed of the AFC anyway. This was the team that 2+ weeks ago got drilled by the Jaguars, who the Bills just beat. And so once you win a game like last week, and I really did believe that the Jaguars had a claim on being a Super Bowl caliber team, once you beat that squad on the road for the first time since 1992, as you mentioned, it's a franchise that's gone on the road and won a playoff game. Well, now you are really allowed to start believing because that caliber of team you beat last week is the caliber of team you're going to have to play tomorrow and the caliber of team you would have to play next week. I think the key with the Broncos is the Broncos defense is phenomenal, but the Broncos defense is a defense that, I think you can find a hole or two if you're on your P's and Q's. If you are deliberate, if you are disciplined, if you're not making mistakes, I think there are ways to do it. And the Jaguars kind of gave you a bit of that game plan a couple of weeks ago. But, you're going to go on the road to a 1 seed. There's no doubt that is going to be a difficult matchup.
The news that we got earlier this hour, DA, Ed Oliver is back. What's an expectation here? Because when we've seen him on the field and healthy this year, he's been a difference maker.
It is the only part about the health status of the Buffalo Bills that I feel optimistic about. Everything else was painful after last week, and then you come through this week and you're missing more bodies. And I've given Sean McDermott a lot of credit this week because I thought going into last week he was at a competitive disadvantage, as we talked about with the injuries. But then during the game, he suffered even more. And that was a microcosm of the entire season. But Ed Oliver, when healthy and right, is one of the defensive difference makers you absolutely have to have. And they just have not had enough of those this year. But, a team that has relied on Joey Bosa to just give you 1 or 2 game-wrecking moments a week. You're not even talking about 5 or 6 or 10 or 12, which is what Myles Garrett brings, 1 or 2. If now Ed Oliver can provide the 1 or 2 and Bosa can provide the 1 or 2, you give yourself twice as good a chance at a game-changing defensive play. And we know what has happened in some big games where one defensive play changed everything. Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, there were these moments where Pittsburgh won big, that Baltimore game, one defensive play flipped the script, and having Ed Oliver gives you another chance at that type of play.
We're talking to DA, the Bill Maddock podcast, Sirius XM, our guest here in the Sports Bar. I feel like we have to give a few minutes here to number 17, DA, because that foot is painful, and then whatever happened with his hand there on the motion that hits the helmet, you see his knee gets twisted. He's listed 3 different ways on the injury report this week. But if your team leader is going out there and you see the punishment and he just says, I'm fine, I'm ready to go, how can everyone else on that team not follow suit?
In what we do, for me, I follow this current of where's the consensus, and then I think, well, when it's too far one way, we know it's wrong. And so I try to look at the other direction. And this kind of consensus that was built was Josh Allen has to be Superman, blah, blah, blah. I felt like, well, that's too easy. It's too obvious. You have to look the other way. But I do think this. The Bills can win without Josh Allen being Superman, but in many ways, Josh Allen is Superman by nature right now for the Buffalo Bills. And you kind of laid out a good case for this. Josh will never say a word about being hurt, about being injured, make excuses, what have you. But clearly he's not 100%. And so when you slam your finger on a helmet or you're getting the bodies thrown at you and, they're falling on top of you or your foot's not right, the guys inside know. The guys inside the huddle know. And Josh Allen having his knee wrenched the wrong way, Josh Allen has made no excuses, made none last week, popped right back out there unbelievably, and it was just like, and let's go. And I just think that unspoken leadership is so vital to the journey. And it might end tomorrow. Look, there's no guarantees that the Bills play a good enough football game to win. And even if they do, there's no guarantee that will be enough because the Broncos are good and you're playing on the road, et cetera. But Josh's performance last week throughout this regular season, which has not always been perfect, has been indicative of just a guy that's a legend. And you don't want to use too much hyperbole, but he vibrates, he gives off the thing that the greats have always done, which is we got 17 of the huddle, we got a chance. And I just think that there's something really valuable about that. And we all know this, and everybody in the football world knows how great he is. But I think when you watch him on a week-to-week basis and know even when he's not been at his best, and think about the bad throws against the Falcons or the bad decisions against the Patriots in the first game, the 8 sacks against the Texans earlier in the season, this has not been a smooth sailing Josh Allen season. It really has been a rocky one at many times. The fact that we are here, the fact that he's not 100%, and the fact that we know we are in for a handful of magical next-level Josh Allen moments tomorrow is truly this rarefied air. And you don't want to go too far one way or the other, but it is pretty obvious that Josh is just operating at a vibrancy, at a level that is inspiring to the guys around him and also able to make plays that nobody else can make. I mean, the goal line dash, the tush push, which goes for 10 yards at the end of the game last week, is just one of those plays that you'll say, remember that when he did that. And that's just shorthand for the type of greatness we're witnessing from Josh Allen.
DA, what if, let me present an alternate reality. What if you don't have to lean on Superman and you can do similarly to what you did last year when you dispatched Denver in the wild card round and you can run the football? I'm curious to get your take on James Cook against Denver's run defense, which is just slightly below where Jacksonville's run defense was. And we saw what Jacksonville was able to do to James Cook. I just have a hard time believing you can keep Cook out of a game for more than one game.
Yeah, I don't think the Bills can win tomorrow if James Cook is rendered as obsolete as he was last week. What the Jaguars did was phenomenal. And again, that's why the Jaguars were a Super Bowl contender. They had that defense to go along with a really creative attack. What the Jaguars didn't do last week was commit to the run fully, and Trevor Lawrence was inconsistent. If Bo Nix plays like Trevor Lawrence did, and that's where the Broncos offense kind of craters, then the Bills are going to win this football game. But to your point, James Cook should have more space than last week. Should. Now, the Broncos defense is phenomenal, but the Broncos really excel on the outside. Surtain, et cetera, their cornerback play is great, and their edge rushers are really great as well. What they don't have at an elite level is plugs up the middle to really shut down what James Cook should be able to do. So, if you're giving James Cook 80 yards, it's way better than we saw what was last week. And I agree with you. I think there should be more space for Cook to operate tomorrow than he did last week. And that's what the Bills should really be honed in on. Because, again, if Josh has to drop back 35 times, probably not your recipe to win. It might be because he's that great, but it's not what you want. And this is where you talk about, what's the bigger picture here? We were talking, the three of us, in September and October, is Joe Brady too stubborn? Is Brady too committed to the run? Is Brady, cutting off his nose to spite his face? And the whole play was for this time of year, which was the Bills never wanted to be a team, probably because they knew they didn't have the offensive wide receiver weaponry to win when you drop back 35 times. That they had to commit to the run. They had to force feed that, because even if they risked losses in September and October, it would set them up for December and January, when inevitably defenses would be better and Josh might be banged up. The wide receiver core, just with the injuries there and the lack of production, proves that you just have always had to run the football if you were the Bills, if you really wanted to win. And the good news is they should be able to run the football better tomorrow than they did last week.
Yeah, these games come down quite often to the final minutes. Heck, the Bills were trailing at the 2-minute warning. Your take at the end of the game, because I had no problem with what McDermott did. However, this is where my mind goes. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, blame assessment Monday on our show is going to be unbelievable with McDermott leaving that time on the clock if Jacksonville comes back. What were your thoughts on the way the Bills managed at the end of that game?
Yeah. And in retrospect, you can see how, did they mismanage it? But I think in the moment, it felt like the right thing to do. I know, and I might have been caught up, but I was in a Bills backers bar in Brooklyn, and it was jammed to the gills. I mean, it was sardines, and it was outrageous. And at the moment, it felt to me and everybody in that bar, go get the touchdown. Just get it. You're on the doorstep. Josh just had that amazing quarterback run. You've just got to get this in there and give yourself the lead, because they had been chasing all day long. And I think to game manage and to say, well, do this, leave no seconds left on the clock, feels like a pensive, conservative, defensive posture. And what has happened to the Bills so many times, that protective defensive posture has seemingly blown up in their face. And there's so many playoff losses to prove it, where it just felt like they weren't the aggressors. And I think that on Sunday, doing what they did felt like going after the win and saying, we'll take the lead and we'll figure out a way to stop them. Now, it worked out because of the deflection of the interception, obviously. But I felt good in the moment that's what they were doing. It worked out, so it looks right. There's a case to be made about game management, but I just think that McDermott and this Bills team have to play smart, but they also have to be the ones that seize the moment instead of worrying what if, and that's what happened on Sunday.
Bills and Broncos are appetizer tomorrow for divisional round weekend, where you've got the Niners in Seattle to take on the Seahawks, the Texans, the Pats, the Bears, and the Rams. DA, how are you feeling about the other three games that we get to enjoy this weekend?
Well, I really like the Seahawks, and I have liked the Seahawks for a while. I've believed in the Seahawks for a good number of weeks, but this oblique strain to Sam Darnold very much scares me. I mean, you're supposed to be at home for 2 weeks resting up, and then you throw against air and somehow strain your oblique. That's a bad sign. I still think, though, there's too much balance there for the Seahawks that they win that football game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer than the spread would suggest. The mojo, the magic of the Bears, I think, is a real thing. I also don't love the Rams outdoors. I don't love the Rams in frigid conditions. And I don't love the Rams the way that they played last week. They had a 14-point lead and let the Panthers come all the way back and grab a lead. The Bears are better than the Panthers. They got a much better quarterback, and Caleb Williams is starting to grow into really being an elite QB. So I like the Bears there. And, this Patriots game, look, I am sick and tired of talking about the Patriots potentially going back to Super Bowls. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see franchise QB Drake May and et cetera. But I'm worried about C.J. Stroud's effectiveness against that pass rush. And I love the Texans defense, and I think everybody would love to see a rematch between the Bills and Texans next weekend in Buffalo. But I think that C.J. Stroud's a problem. It's been too laborious for him to move the football. And so I think that the Patriots will take advantage. It could be low scoring. It could be a 17-13, 20-17 game. But I think the Patriots find a way to eke it out. And I think we're talking about the Bills going to Foxborough to exercise some more demons next week. But I will tell you this, as we look for things that are a bit bigger than us and signs from above, the 2006 Indianapolis Colts were not the best version of Peyton Manning's Colts. I think probably the best version was the year before in 2005 when they were one and done. They lost in the Jerome Bettis fumble game against the Steelers. But in 2006, the Colts had to get through the Patriots again. Now, they got them at home. They got them at the RCA Dome. But they were down 21-3 in that game. And, Belichick and Brady had solved them again. And the Colts mounted a huge comeback, an amazing game. They take the lead late, and they intercept Brady to end the game, and they finally break through all of their demons to get to a Super Bowl. I could see that happening where you go, oh, my God, the gift of all of this and knocking on the doors. Now we got to go to Foxborough. But it's where you have to exercise the demons, and I could see it happening. So I just think that C.J. Stroud and that offense, especially without Nico Collins because of the concussion, that's a tough matchup going on the road in the cold this weekend in Foxborough.
And who did the Colts play in the Super Bowl?
You don't have to bring that part up. You don't have to bring that
No,
part up.
it's like he's saying, like, that would be great. Bills-Bears Super Bowl.
I know. I've been saying Bills-Bears
Chicago.
Super Bowl to my neighbors who are all Bills fans. And, of course, I'm a Bears fan, and they tell me to STFU because they just want to see the Bills get there. And I think the Bills do have the better chance, obviously, of making it to the Super Bowl. But, yeah, you had to bring up 2006, DA. Yeah, I was at that one where Peyton Manning just dissected that Bears
You had a
defense.
great 10 seconds.
I did.
I'm opening that game.
I did.
Fantastic.
I did.
Roll the credit.
Yeah. DA, tell everybody about Bill Maddock and where we can get more of your work here leading up to kickoff because it's been an absolute treat having you on with us every week this season.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Well, I'll be out watching the game again tomorrow in the Hudson Valley, New York, where I live, and I'll be watching the big screen and I'll be doing the Bill Maddock podcast, Immediate Reaction, right afterwards. And so immediately after the game, check me out on social media. Best place to get me is YouTube. Just search my name, or the handle is Damon Amendo, and subscribe there. And off-season, plenty of coverage as well. But I don't think it's the off-season just yet. So check out the Instant Reaction tomorrow.
DA, always great insight. Appreciate this relationship, and have a good time out tomorrow.
Thank you, boys. You too. See ya.
Got it. There's Damon Amendolara, host of the Bill Maddock podcast, talking some Bills and Broncos here in the sports bar, getting us ready for this weekend's action. Exercise the demons. I like what he's saying there.
I know.
I like that.
Give
I
me,
like that a lot.
Oh, my gosh. Give me New England. The fear of Diggs getting there before Allen.
Oh, the executive producer making the call.
She called this back in November.
Yeah.
She's like, you guys need to talk about what would it be like if Diggs is in the Super Bowl before Buffalo.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Can't have it. Can't happen. We are set up. If it goes the way we think it's going to go, we are set up for a fun couple of weeks here, boy, aren't we? It all gets underway tomorrow. With the Bills and the Broncos. Now, tomorrow here on The Fan, we've got a lot of different action going on, from the Sabres to the Bills to the Rochester Americans. If you're out and you want to hear Bills coverage in its entirety, we encourage you to check out our sister station, 96.5 WCMF, and they'll have all the action pregame starting at 12 noon tomorrow.
Yeah, as tonight, Amerks and Belleville, and then the Sabres tomorrow, 14-16. They won. Buffalo. Yeah, isn't that great how that kind of lines up tomorrow? You get the Sabres, and then you get
Chris Drury putting out a letter to the fans. I don't know if you saw this or
Yeah.
not, but basically he's using the retool money. He's not saying rebuild, but we need to retool some things for the future.
Sell.
Give me Breadman. Give me Breadman in Buffalo. I'm in on Breadman to the Sabres. I want it. I want it badly. It'll be a lot of fun. The Wild, the opponent tomorrow. You'll hear that action here on the Fan Rochester. Fun show, abbreviated sports bar today. But great having Cody Rourke on with us from the Locked On Broncos podcast, and, of course, our conversation just there with DA. Fantastic as always. We are back on Monday after Amerks hockey. It's a holiday, but we will be here, win or lose, with a reaction and hopefully some Bruno Martino on a Victory Monday in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. We'll talk to you again on Monday at 3.